The most significant governance issue in the Qantas case was the misalignment of incentives between a powerful CEO and the long-term goals of shareholders. The 2023 Independent Governance Review found that Alan Joyce exercised disproportionate influence, with directors offering too little of a challenge. This culture of deference meant short-term profits were prioritised even when they created long-term risks. We saw externalities in many forms: ACCC action, the High Court ruling on unlawful outsourcing of 1,700 staff, Senate scrutiny, reputational decline, and a shareholder backlash at the AGM. Academic research helps explain this pattern. Powerful CEOs are more prone to risk-taking, and when CEO dominance translates into a large pay slice, firm value declines. Without strong conformance, CEO power can produce risky, self-serving strategies. At Qantas, that imbalance damaged both stakeholder trust and sustainable shareholder value. The mechanism that reinforced this issue was Qantas' executive remuneration policy. With CEO power already concentrated, it was critical that the incentives aligned with sustainable value creation. Instead, a large portion of pay was tied to short-term financial outcomes, rewarding immediate profit at the expense of long-term stability. Research shows that when pay is tied only to financial metrics, executives will prioritize immediate earnings while ignoring sustainability and stakeholder outcomes. That dynamic was clear at Qantas. Short-term targets drove decisions such as outsourcing and cost-cutting, which lifted profit but weakened resilience. Studies also highlight that such models encourage excessive risk-taking, producing long-term liabilities like those seen in the GFC. Qantas mirrored this pattern, with bonuses tied to actions that later attracted litigation and reputational fallout that far outweighed any short-term benefits. Other research shows that managers will sacrifice sustainability to avoid even minor earnings disappointments, which was reflected in Qantas's underinvestment in staff and systems to protect quarterly results. This was Qantas's reality. A remuneration policy that was focused on immediate profits came at the expense of long-term corporate value and stakeholder trust. A clear corporate governance improvement is the redesign of the remuneration policy at Qantas. First, stakeholder verified metrics such as employee engagement scores and independent customer trust surveys to ensure accountability beyond financial outcomes. Second, resilience bonds, which are deferred instruments that only vest if Qantas sustains performance over 7 years without any major breaches, to address the risk of value extraction. Third, benchmarking beyond TSR by comparing against peer airlines on trust, retention, and compliance, so executives cannot claim success if stakeholder confidence lags. Qantas has already adopted some changes along these lines. Together with these new reforms, sustainability will be embedded more deeply into pay design and rebuild both corporate value and stakeholder trust. Research shows that long-term incentives are increasingly valued because they drive sustainable outcomes for the companies and reduce excessive risk-taking. Without embedding these forward-looking measures, remuneration policies risk repeating the short-termist patterns that undermine trust and created long-term liabilities at Qantas.